I'm right back. Let's get right back into this. We're at 44, I think, or so. I forgot the number here. I don't want to quote a number I don't. That I don't have precise here. Let's get to Babylonian entertainment. Jeremiah's going to give you a case in point, of how the world is a whirlwind. The world is it's a it's a false science. It is a what's the word I'm looking for? The mental and physical facts and the grammar and everything that's in these movies and so forth and these videos that you see on TV and on the web, especially now, it's really basically confusion. It's going left and right at the same time. It's schizophrenia. It's psychosis. And you can watch this psychosis, but you need to clarify what's going on. And I'm going to give an example of how some of you might get away with this. And I mean that definitely on a part-time basis. In other words, if you watch this Wonka movie or some other movies, I think that you really it's really best it's for your best interest to keep it to a minimum with the world's kind of movies that we might consider G-rated, PG-rated, not that bad. That's my point. Okay. You know, the more you watch, the more you have to think, kind of. And when it comes to children, it's really important. Uh, Sherlock Holmes is another example. The guy who wrote Sherlock Holmes, Conan Doyle, he's schizophrenic. He's going left and right. He's all over the place. Now, in some of his episodes, he's fine. He doesn't try to deal with conflicting issues, but sometimes he does, and that's not good. It's not good for the listener. It's not good for the psychology of the one who is viewing and listening and opening themselves up to these contradictions. Because contradictions are it's dangerous, and confusion is dangerous. Because that's how the enemy gets to you. By creating some whirlwind, and then all of a sudden, you don't know where to put your nails down. And this is the goal of Babylonian entertainment. And America has always, for the most part, been Babylonian entertainment. For the most part. An example would be to have a movie in Hollywood where they have a wife go back to her husband because she has no legal right to remarry legally. Not only in America, but biblically. Hollywood did that on a number of occasions. One movie I have, they were a little mishy-mashy about it, but the bottom line was they got it right. I have another movie with the same actress where she got it right straight up. That movie's called Dangerous, where the actress got it right the first time. That is a wonderful movie. Where Hollywood got their ducks in a row. They made a movie that we Protestants can watch and relax without having to do anything, try to straighten it out. And of course, when you open yourself up to the theater, that's where the problem is. Because you'll go right back to the theater, for example, right? And you'll go to the theater where they had the movie Dangerous, right? And then they'll have a movie called so-and-so and so. I have a movie by an actress who is beloved here in the United States, and most of her movies, she's a class act. Very classy, very intelligent. But they made her evidently make a movie where she bent the rules, and she didn't just bend them, she broke them. That means that overall, Hollywood is Babylon. That's the point. Every now and then, though, they have things that can fit in our framework, which we call the Bible, sound doctrine, and those things that please the Lord. You see the point? Most of my war movies, they don't step over boundaries. It's just very simple: bravery, heroic, epics of examples of big time heroes. There's no question as to whether or not this marriage and then and this was murder, or this that you can hurt people and it's okay. Where Hollywood's all over the place, making fun of people, hurting their feelings, and it's not a big deal. Introducing stimuli to children that shouldn't be introduced to them. It's too early in their development, and so the theater becomes that open door. And so the Mennonite, the Quaker type like me, we just say shut the whole thing down. And that's the wise thing to do. What I want to talk to you today is, I want to talk about how you can insert some of these movies that are possibly G-rated, but you need to screen them first. And if you let your children or your relatives or friends or brothers or sisters watch the movies, you need to point out, with the wisdom God gave you, how this is dangerous stuff and it's no good. Because we really can't totally shut down the world. Therefore, we need to learn how to fix people's wagons. How we can fix things that we learned and that are in entertainment, and fix it quick. Because if you don't fix it quick, it can make an inroad into your mind, and it can damage your situation of a sound mind, pleasing Father, and so on. It can also start addictions by seeing it in the first place. That goes for alcohol or anything. You're better off not trying alcohol. You don't need it. But if you do, it doesn't mean that you're condemned. It just means that you better use the Lord's power to submit to church activities, staying busy, so that you don't get caught up in any of these addictions. One of the best ways to stay away from addictions is to get a schedule of church work. I was talking with a relative here the other day, and I was telling them that I can tell when people are TV preacher type people who are open to addictions, and they're all over the place. They're essentially Babylon. They go to Starbucks improperly dressed. They don't screen their movies. The commandments of the Lord don't mean much to them at all. Church is a place to socialize and kind of be happy, which is fine, but you need living bread. If I go to church because everybody's happy, I have not done anything different than going to Disneyland and saying hello to a lot of people. You're no different than a Gentile who went to Disney World and was friendly. What distinguishes you from the world are commandments. Not going to church and being friendly and getting dressed and feeling good about a clean building to walk in. Okay, that's not going to get you the goods. It's like going to the grocery store and walking out with nothing or candy. The grocery store is beneficial because of vitamins, not because of candy. If you tell me you're excited about candy, that's not good. Especially if that's all you got. And that's what Bible teachers and Christians who are rooted and grounded in sound doctrine, we face that every day now because of the falling away of thousands and thousands of people are lost in Babylon. They've fallen away from sound doctrine. So when you run into them, you can tell that they're excited about candy all the time. Whee! Candy! And so you're going to die. Man shall not live by candy alone, but every word that proceedeth from the mouth of the living bread of Jesus Christ. End of story. Okay, wait. Okay, you Babylonians, we don't have any more time for you. We're going to go hang around people who have taken up their cross and they're following Jesus. That's what we spend most of our time with. Just because we encounter the world in Babylon doesn't mean that we are going to spend a lot of time in war, discussions, debates. People who have honest, kind questions for me, that's when I listen. But if they want to be abrasive, they want to act like a clown and try to clown me and make me some sort of a joke, or something, then the situation is over. The counseling session is done. And I've gotten a lot of that recently, doing a little bit of counseling. I've done some counseling online. I don't do that much anymore. Now, what is this, Jeremiah? This whole Babylonian thing. Babylon means confusion. The devil likes to stir the room up in order for him to function. If I show up in a room, it's very difficult for the devil to stir everything up. The demonic witnesses will knock on my door. What are they trying to do? They're trying to stir things up so that we can get confused and believe a lie. That's what they're trying to do. Oh, I have a King James Bible in my right hand, but in my left hand, I have a book written by a guy who didn't get past the 8th grade. Rutherford and Russell probably didn't get past the 8th grade, yet their followers are following their books. Not good. The TV preachers I've noticed years back, they didn't know what they were talking about. They don't know what the root meaning of a word is. They don't know what a noun is. They don't know really hardly anything. Yet they're so popular. Why? Because the devil props up his own. You like lies and you're greedy, there's a good chance you might get promoted. It says it on your dollar bill. Bold deeds or insolent deeds, it means the same thing. Insolent, bold, or audacious, or temerity is a good one. Temerity deals with consequences. Whereby that you're just being so brazen that you're just going and just, you're like Goliath. Go, baby, go. With no regard for consequences. Babylon is where things are stirred up. And the best thing to do is every now and then give them some truth and then give them the lie. And pretty soon they're just confused. They don't know where they are. They don't know what to do anymore. And you control them at that point. Confusion controls them. And that's the groundwork for destruction. You can't build you can't build destruction until you create a ground for it. You got to prepare destruction. And Hollywood, in its history, did a very good job of working for the devil. However, on the other side of the coin, people like me who were raised Protestants, if we watch a movie, we know where the error is, and we're not just slap happy going, it's a beautiful movie, everybody's nice, they're well dressed, oh, this is cool. No. We screen our information. We screen these movies and these episodes and these activities. And let me give you another case in point. Let's hammer home the first one. Lady makes a movie where she's in love with her husband. Her husband loses his mind and he gets amnesia. He doesn't even know who she is. She's terribly hurt in the movie because she's going to stick to her guns. And she sticks to her guns until he remembers. That's a beautiful movie. Those are the kind of movies we Christians can watch and enjoy. Why? Because somebody is standing up for what's right. That's all this is. Now, then that lady made another movie which surprised me, where and this is more for you teenagers and adults here. You children can listen to this too. Because the Bible says, once you're married, that's basically it. You can scream till the cows come home, but legally, in the Lord's eyes, you're bound. I was just watching a lady here the other day, a movie star, and she said, I left my husband in San Diego or something because he didn't want me to be, some sort of bikini girl or something. Or we won't go into that, but here's the point. The point is that she doesn't understand that she has no ground to stand on. Biblically and actually historically in America. Andrew Jackson married a woman who was married to a man, and she went to Mexico, I think, and got a divorce. Then she married Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson came under a lot of fire from the citizens and some of the aristocracy. They called him to a duel over the fact that her husband is still alive. He still won the election for presidency in spite of his considered adulterous relationship. However, his wife was not allowed to go to the women's banquets. She tried to go to the women's banquets in 18 whatever. She tried to go to the banquet early 19th century. In America, in a lot of places, you could not be multiply married. Now, some people would say that's all old-fashioned and it's not reality, it's not beneficial, it's mean, and it's wrong. But what do we Quakers say about this? The people were doing the precise thing they were supposed to do. Now, did they do it right? Not necessarily. Why? Because it's a church activity. They're throwing this into the secular realm, where the politicians are trying to create a church outside of the church. And that makes it difficult, because the church only basically deals with the church. In other words, when they told Mrs. Jackson she couldn't go into the building or the house where all the presidents and the senators' wives were, that's not necessarily a church. So it becomes a difficult situation. Why? Because what we teach here is for the church. I'm not going to go around the corner to a bingo parlor where they play bingo and tell them that they can't drink or smoke or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That's not the church. The same thing goes for a MAGA crowd with Trump. I'm not going to go there and start teaching Christianity watered down or something and pray for people I don't know and all of this, or people who are sitting there who may not be saved. I'm not going to pray with them. Get the point? Church is church, and everything else ain't church. It's very difficult to try to drag church into the world. And that's one of the problems with the MAGA crowd. Is that church is church, and MAGA ain't church necessarily. Get the point? It doesn't mean that everything MAGA crowd does is wrong. It just means essentially it's out of order, because we're not church that ain't church that might be church. We're not maybe church. Billy over there might be saved. Trump might be saved. Vice Pence might be saved. Maybe he is. Maybe, oh, no. Where's that? That's confusion. We have church or we don't have church. Everything outside of that is danger zone. Doesn't mean it's all bad. That's not my point. My point is, the bottom line is, it's Babylon, essentially, it's confusion, and it's danger zone. Because it ain't necessarily church. That's the point. Now, let's get back to the movie. That lady made a lot of classic movies. A pretty lady. Then out of the blue, she makes a movie where she leaves her husband because he's strict. He's a very strict guy. He's not very caring all the time. He loves her, but he's probably having some difficulties in his mind at this time. Where he wants to be too strict or something. He's not doing anything illegal. And he told his wife he loves her. So, okay, now, she leaves him and marries his brother. This becomes one of the biggest mistakes Hollywood's ever made. It is completely contradicting our Ten Commandments. It's plain as nose in your face. Now, in the movie, they rub salt on the wound. Because at the end of the movie, she's walking away, smiling, and they're laughing, and he's an artist, and she wants to be an artist, and they're free now. In other words, they're saying that mankind and humans need to be free. And there are no laws that control your freedom. And that they're now liberated. It's a renaissance. They're exploring their humanity. He's an artist. Well, in my opinion, as a Bible teacher and a man who knows logic and reason, it's one of the saddest movies I've ever seen. It's nauseating. The reason why is because the husband was left illegally, and how do you know? In other words, you can't divorce someone based upon the fact that they're being cold or they're going through a period of rough times in their life where they're kind of being a little rough with you. It doesn't mean they don't love you, and it also doesn't give you grounds to dump them. And you're being cold. You're not keeping your commitment or your vow. And then, I think the movie really rubbed salt in the wound. And I think that the movie producers were not just breaking the law, they were enjoying breaking the law. And that's just an opinion of mine. And what is Christianity? Establishing the law. What are we doing here? We're establishing the law. Paul said, do we nullify the law? Thou shalt not commit adultery because we're saved by grace, by faith? He said, no, on the contrary, we establish the law. We establish don't commit adultery, even though you may commit adultery. We're here to establish don't do it, period. So Hollywood became Babylon. Now let me give you a case in point. I'm going to take a break as we get back into this. Because I got into a little bit of science as how Hollywood and Babylon, they try to present science in schools and politicians and NASA, aeronautics or whatever, and all these people, these entities, and they're presenting facts to you that they declared that it's scientific. That goes for psychology, mental health, physical health, that you need to eat this and do this and all this. And as far as movies go, when does suspense become horror and unacceptable? When I was young, we didn't see horror movies. The most horror we saw was implied. You kind of knew what they were doing, but they didn't show you. In terms of horror and destruction of the human body and so forth. Because watching these things will take a toll on the brain of the people who watch it. And what you need is, if you watch these things, is you're going to need cleansing, and you're going to need the power of Jesus Christ to remove that from your brain. He can do it, but he may not do it. That's on him, not on me. Now, I want you to be delivered from spending a lot of time watching this garbage, because I've watched some of it when I was growing up. There was a transition in my house where we went from Leave It to Beaver to you didn't know what was on the TV. Cable garbage. It should have remained Leave It to Beaver. The American flag came on at 12 o'clock on the TV, and the TV shut off. That's the stimuli you needed for a Protestant Quaker world. Now it's Babylon. Anything goes. It's horrible. Two men are getting in a cage, and they're beating themselves severely. And it's called entertainment, and men are announcing it with suits on. Men have suits on, and they're going, oh, hi, watch the basketball game. And then in the corner of the screen, two men are beating themselves horribly in a cage. And they're sitting there looking at you as though everything is normal. That's called confusion. It's not normal to watch two men in a cage beat themselves severely. Yet it's being presented as normal. Then they'll put God Bless America after that with a flag or something. That's really schizophrenia. That's true schizophrenia. That's going left and right at the same time. It's psychosis. It's I like you a lot for 5 minutes, and I hurt you 5 minutes later. That's called mental illness. It's an unsound mind. And how you train an unsound mind is unsound stimuli. One minute the commercial says, I love my Subaru, and the next commercial, there's a child hurting his family or something. If you don't think that's mental instability, something is wrong with you. You are Babylon, and you are a person who owns an unsound mind. Let me give you one more point before I shut down. I used to watch the news, and sometimes on the news, they would have things like a bus just hit a child. And they would show the bus in Los Angeles or something, and the child was hit by a bus. And the camera would go on the bus, and you might see the child, or you probably wouldn't, and the reporter would say, something terrible happened here, a child was hit, and you can see something over here, and the camera would immediately go to a laughing weatherman. Stop and think for a minute. Do you think that's mental stability? No, it's not. For you to talk about a child being killed or something like that, and then 1 second later, there's a man with a very nice suit on who's bouncing up and down. He's happy about the weather. And the news anchor is also smiling. So we went from an absolutely horrible situation to a laughing, wonderful situation where the news anchor is smiling and he's grinning. And then the newsman comes. His name is Dallas Storm, and there he is, giving you the weather, and he's smiling, saying how happy he is. That's America, and America doesn't even know that they're schizophrenic. It's called mass psychosis, and it's brainwashing. And it in America, it didn't happen until the 60s and 70s. Essentially, mass schizophrenia did not exist in America until about the 70s. And of course, murder and robberies and everything skyrocketed 90%, 80% when these stimuli came on television, on the radio, in the music, and junk in is junk out. Unfortunately. Now I'm going to talk about this a lot more in my psychology lesson I have for you, for those of you who are interested in secular analysis and analyzing the world through a Protestant intellectualist I, which is me. That's me. When does suspense become horror? We didn't even have really horror. We had suspense. When did defending yourself as Superman become gratuitous violence? When did romance become too much romance? See, and so we who are still thinking, we got this. You're saying America now. I got that. We got that. I got that. We got it. You're not going to pull the wool over our eyes. The lady who made that movie, they interviewed her not too long ago. The one where she made so many nice, classy movies as a classy woman. And by the way, we're not condemning the woman for that movie, but she did make a huge mistake. She should have turned that movie down as a Quaker, as a Protestant Christian, William Penn American. She should have shut that movie down before it got off the ground, because it's insidious. And to show the man being sad, it really hammers home the very sick nature of Hollywood. What Hollywood will do, the boldness to contradict the Word of God and our sound doctrine here. Now, I'll be right back. We're going to get into entertainment specifically. I'm going to talk about comparing movies, and I'm going to give you a quick overview of a movie that I watched that's in my collection called the Wonka movie, and I'm going to show you how we analyze things boots on the ground. Okay? Maranatha. I'll be right back.